Hey everyone, I'm Katie McGregor Bennett, your host of AV Trade Talk. Have another special episode today in collaboration with Chords. This is creating the ultimate audio demo room. For those of you who are in the AV industry and maybe taking a little bit of note of what's happening in Barcelona, Spain in February at the Integrated Systems Europe show, this is one of the most heralded demos historically and will be once again. However, this is it, boys and girls. This is the last time you get to see it. So not only are we going to talk about that a little bit today, but we're going to dive into the specifics, some of the technical components and how this room came to be and what it takes to pull off a demo like this. This is going to be a technical conversation, but we're going to keep it light. So this is another one of our pub style conversations, and let the guys kick off here with quick introductions. Peter, if you would start, and let's go ahead and go around the room from there.
Hey, Casey. Hey, everybody. My name is Peter Aylett. I wear two and a half professional hats. I'm a partner in a company called Officina Acustica, and our part in the whole demo was that we built the room with all the acoustics built in, and we sell that kind of thing through a global network of dealers. I'm also have another company with a few friends called Cinema Bureaus, and we do design, build, supply, everything of a very, very limited amount of rooms per year, but we consider those to be the best a private cinema or screening room can be. And my half hat is I'm also a self-confessed CD-aholic. I currently chair R10, which is the standards group, which is a joint effort between CEDIA and the CTA. I chair work group 1. Under work group 1, we recently rewrote the RP22 immersive audio recommended practice. It's even a mouthful for me. I do loads of teaching for CEDIA, and I will be at ISE wearing all of those hats.
Even the half one.
Even the half one, yeah.
Excellent, David.
Lovely. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm David Moravitz from Trinov Audio. I've been with Trinov Audio for about 6 years now. I cover Europe as a sales territory, and I spend a lot of time in wonderful cinema rooms. I'm a very lucky boy to do what I do. So yeah, that's a little about me.
Thank you. Hi, and I think it's fair to say Happy New Year, and thanks for having me. My name is Lars Johansen. I'm one of the partners at Perlisten Audio, a fairly and reasonably new company within the audio world. Perlisten is speakers. It is everything you can imagine within the hi-fi segment and in the sci-fi segment, which we are going to talk about today. So everything with in-wall, on-wall, in-ceiling, subwoofers, that's what we are doing. And we are proudly having all of our products THX certified. So anybody who comes to us can definitely get a nice experience out of that.
Yes, Lars, you have a very long history before Perlisten, from very well-known speaker brands that a lot of people know. So
yeah, I've been around, and that's I start to feel it. But it's I've been working with some of the key guys, around the JBL creators, the Infinity creators. So yeah, I have some experience in that field. Thanks.
Yes, a lot of experience. Welcome everybody. My name is James Chen. You guys have met me before, and I look forward to seeing many of you at ISE in person. I'm the managing director of Chords. We're a cable manufacturer that specifically supplies the professional integration industry. Last year was our 20th. And this year we're launching a suite of products there, and I really wanted to take this opportunity to talk about what I think is one of the best experiences that I've had in my life, and I want to share with our audience, some of the little secrets of how it came together. So I have some of my industry friends to come and help me with that. So please enjoy.
This episode has been a long time coming. We talked about recording this during CEDIA Expo, and we realized that there's one thing to think that it's easy to gather when we're all together at a trade show, but then we remember, to Peter's point, we're wearing 2.5 hats. teaching a ton, building a booth, doing all of the things. So we have been working on this episode for some time, and now I think it seems fitting with it sort of as its last hurrah. But I don't want to foreshadow too much on that or imply that there's a reason that it's going away per se. This is just how things go, and we'll let the guys talk a little bit about that. But first, James, I wanted to have you lead us in. You've said this is one of the best experiences of your life. So give us a little bit of meat on that comment. What is it about the experience that puts it into that level for you? And then we'll really dive into the mechanics of the room.
Firstly, it takes a lot of skill and collaboration to build something like this. There's a lot of nuance that you don't see. There's a lot of stuff that you're meant not to see. And it's in this black canvas that you walk into, that you get to experience ultimately, truly what the director fully intended. The thing is the recreation element, the colorless element of the build, which then allows true immersion. Because what we want to experience is the true gift of someone's story. And when you have artificial additives, the MSG, and there's too much of it, you come out with headaches, or when it's not meant to be that. So it really takes a lot of skill to do that. The video and audio is remarkable, and a lot of people still have not realized that you need a foundation from which for that to exude. And it's the acoustics of that, and also the fact that they can put it up in 2 days. That is just, to me, is mind-blowing, because I've built cinemas before, incredible. Everybody here has built incredible cinemas before, but these things take sometimes years to put together. And then to have that level of experience in a very noisy environment, but also to hear the nuance and the detail and see the incredible image and hear the audio, bring it all together, is very few demonstrations truly create tingles, especially when you've heard thousands of systems before, right? And you can watch a scene and you feel the emotion to the point of tears. I've been in this industry for 35 years now. So to experience that just last year was mind blowing.
Yeah. Same. I remember I snuck in at the very last minute on the last day of ISE, and the guys were so gracious to hold the door for me as I came running down the hallway, like, I have to experience it, as I had the year before. But you realize that it's the subtle nuances that you realize and recognize as you're sitting in these demos, and when you can really remove yourself from the activity of the show floor, or put this in situ, if you're at home and you happen to have one of these rooms, when you enter the room and you close the door behind you, so too are you closing behind you the rest of the world and the worries of the world and the things that stress you out. You come into these rooms and you just feel at ease and ready to be entertained. So Peter, let's have you now walk us into the room, and then talk us a little bit through some of the partners and what goes into the space. And if you would, for context, how big of a room are we talking? What are the dimensions? How many seats? All the things.
Thanks, Casey. I think the first thing to say, and off the back of what James was talking about, that room is an iceberg in that you see the tip, but people have no idea what goes into the fact that we can build that in 2 days. And these rooms are always collaborations, just like any room for a customer should be. There isn't a single company on the planet that makes every single component that could then create this amazing experience. So first thing to say about the room is this will be let's have a think about this, probably the 10th show that room has been used at. So it's been built up, broken down, and then usually between shows, we actually build it up again, do all the R&D and do all the assembly. So panic in private, one of my favorite mantras, and also train hard, fight easy when it comes to shows. Because at shows, I'm not a stand builder. I'm not going to start at 7 and finish at midnight. I want to spend my evenings drinking beer with all my best friends. So we deliberately train hard to give us as easy as possible build. So those metrics you're asking for, the room itself is 9 meters long, 6 meters wide, and 3.5 meters tall. Within that box, we then build what you experience. So we take off around, I think it's about 600 mil at the front, about 0.5 meter at the back, and around 350 mil off each of the side walls to then build the interior. So from our perspective, from an Officina Acustica perspective, that room is really two products. The outer shell we call the Cove, and the Cove is a transportable modular box that can be built anywhere. And it was really developed for a show environment. And the two key things that you've got to balance for a show is, number one, isolation, but number two, balance that isolation with the realities of actually being able to assemble it, actually being able to lift the thing. So could we make that shell more isolating? Sure. But then the horribleness of building it would go up exponentially because each of those panels would just weigh so much. And when it comes to isolation, there's really no replacement for mass. So that outer shell does a really, really good job of isolating, given how quick it is to build and how easy it is to assemble. Within that shell, we then use our product, which we call Acoustic Interior Design, which again is a modular construction that is then bolted into that box. So when we build a room at a show, there's no sawing, there's no cutting, there's no measuring, there's no scratching heads. Everything arrives at the show in a load of pallets, and it really is an assemble the room. And we will get that room from nothing on the show floor to basically a finished room in 2.5 reasonably short days. We'll start at 8:30 every day. We'll be done by 6 every day. We'll then be down the pub and eating jamon iberico, pata negra every night. Thank you very much. And then start again the next day. We do that in 2.5 days. We then save the last day for final little calibration tweaks. I'll let David talk about calibration. And just dressing the booth and doing everything on the outside. But what, people see a very, very simple build, but what they don't appreciate is that this room, before CEDIA Expo last year, so this was back in, I think, late June, ourselves and Trinov and Perlison and our projection partner at the time, we all came to our factory in Italy, and we already had the room fundamentally built. But then the room was put together fully, and critically, it was calibrated in the piece of a factory show floor and without any of the pressure to get things done in a few hours. And that's a massive, massive part of, I think, what makes our demos so spectacular. The other interesting thing about that room is that Perlison are the loudspeaker partners for CEDIA Expo last year and for IOC this year. I think that's the 5th or the 6th different set of speakers that's been in that room. So for every new speaker partner, quite a lot of the room has to be re-engineered so that all the cutouts are the right size. We've got enough space for all the subs to go. So every single new speaker partner, although when people walk into that room, it looks almost the same now than it did 5 years ago. Little bit bigger, few differences. Under the skin for every single speaker partner, we have to do quite a lot of re-engineering. But it's really the fact that we do so much in advance. We have that pre-build. We train hard, fight easy. There's a lot of liaison that goes on between all the different partners leading up to a show, because you've got to do it. We're all there showing what we can do, and unless we do it properly, it's just not worth doing. And I'll finish up with kind of the reason that I think we all do these rooms, and that is if I say to someone, "What's your cinema like?" They might say, "Oh, it's amazing, it's brilliant, it's absolutely fantastic." But that comment completely depends on that individual's perspective. If the best thing they've ever heard is something really not very good, then they're going to think that that's the best thing that's available. So what we always try and do when we come together, all the different partners at a show, is to give people an experience, to show them what is possible, to reset their level of expectation. So from that point onwards, they're thinking, okay, I really need to strive to achieve this kind of level. And I think given that it's transportable, given that we build it so stress-free in 2.5 days, the level of performance that we've been able to achieve with this room particularly is really, really extraordinary. A lot of people at CEDIA Expo came out and said, look, that's just the best cinema I've ever experienced. Not the best cinema on a show floor I've ever experienced, the best cinema full stop anywhere I've ever experienced. And it's really just a testament to all the individual partners coming together, these best in breed products, really, really good design, panic in private, train hard, fight easy, all of those things that are coming together to, it looks simple, but when you dig, it's an incredibly complex, very, very, very time consuming endeavor.
Yeah.
So the earlier version of this room was smaller, right?
That was 7 by 5 by 3.5. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's seen various different versions, and the thing that I really love about this concept is that it's easily made to fit someone's living room, and and like if you happen to move house, you can actually take it with you. And if your room is bigger or smaller, it can be modified for that also. It's
fabulous
performance, yeah.
My fabulous business partner, Maurizio Conti, I don't think anyone has built more cinemas on show floors than Maurizio has. He's been doing this for 20 years. And there are some very significant brands in the past that it was really Maurizio's room that put that brand on the map, that showed people what's possible, especially with those speaker brands. So what we do now is mainly the culmination of 20 years worth of Maurizio's experience. He makes it look easy. It isn't. If you try to do this from scratch, you will crash and burn. But Maurizio, just because of the sheer amount of experience, all the things he's got wrong, all the things he's learned, now means we have a very, very smooth, seamless experience building those rooms.
And we've actually all learned a huge amount over I've been involved with these rooms since I was came on board with Trinov, and it's been going since before that. It's not just the building, it's the logistics, getting stuff from A to B. Maurizio has been having kittens all up to Christmas and New Year because the rooms still hadn't arrived back from the US. And this again is the fight easy approach, but that stress in the background of getting it back in time, doing all the reworking that needed. We were talking about in the build up to this, how some of the crates were destroyed. Well, again, those crates cost a lot of money. Wood costs a lot of money. They've got to be, rebuilt and make sure that everything gets back to Barcelona in one piece, and then ultimately back to Italy again. After that. So yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a journey, and we said we weren't going to touch on it, dwell on it too much. But this is one of the last sort of big demos where we're sort of instigating, should we say, as a group of manufacturers. Because this room is actually going to go to Trinov's headquarters after it's done its rounds at trade shows. So again, just speaking back to the modularity of the room, and the versatility of the room, it allows us to put on these amazing demonstrations, but also, when the time comes, we can also, reutilize all of that. It's not an aging product in that way. So yeah, I think that's important to say.
Yeah, the fact that you can use it as for a company like Trinov to look at it and go, okay, well this is good enough to be our showroom, even after it's been to so many shows and events and things like that, points to the quality and the performance and the acoustics of this. Yeah.
And that's the lovely thing about it. As we've said already, the product doesn't change. The product is fundamentally the product, as in the room. But that room will go back to Italy. We'll probably allow Maurizio to. Well, I say allow. What am I on about? Maurizio will want to rework the interior design. The aesthetic part of the room, and then it will go back for another life. So yeah, it's a wonderful thing.
All right, so Lars, I want to bring you into this now. Since we're talking about audio, obviously the production of the audio and how we listen to it, how we hear it comes from the speakers. There's a lot more that goes into it than that. But dive in and share with us what Perlisten is doing in the room, sort of some of the products, technologies, how your side of the relationship is making this happen.
I think that first of all. Somebody said the word journey, and the journey of the speakers was that when we made the agreement with the group, the team, initiated by Trinov, there's a long thing of things which has to be done, getting plus 40 speakers built at our factory, shipped to Europe, shipped to Italy. So that journey started back in January. And I had to initiate the PO. We shipped. It arrived, of course, late. All the guys were in Italy, and our product was FedExed from Denmark into Italy, and then assembled. Right. So we have started this also with a lot of stress, a lot of headache, but it was worth every dime because of the end result of going to a trade show and nearly everything worked, right? So I would just say that big fight, but it worked at the end. So what people are experience or can experience at ISE is something which I'm saying it's beyond the ordinary. It is a statement to what is possible. I going back to CEDIA, just standing in the hall and just watching people come out of the room. You didn't have to say anything. You didn't have to ask any questions because it was one big smile. And they were listening at peaks at 120 dB, or maybe slightly higher, and no fatigue, no distortion, and people actually wanted us to play louder. So big applause to what we are doing. So now people in Europe, and of course visitors from all over the world, can get the same experience in Barcelona. And it's a 13.14.6 system. So you have the front stage, which is all built on Perlisten's S7T, which is our flagship speaker. The specific model you are getting to audition is a limited edition where we have worked with all the ingredients within our speaker, upgraded our DPC array, which is the heart of any Perlisten speaker, upgraded the woofers, the cabinet, a little bit larger. And then together with immersive audio, surrounds, Atmos speakers, all within the same family, all within the S series, signature series. So for a full timbre match, it's very important that the audio travels between each channel and the format of the speaker is the same. So what comes to the ears are within the same, let's say, product family. So it's all Peerless Nest series speakers. The fun part of it is that we are bringing in 14 subs. So 14 subwoofers with 3,000 watts of horsepower, double 15-inch woofers in a push-pull configuration, which is something we are very dear about. It's just an experience you cannot miss.
Okay, Lars, push pull. Is that anything you can explain very quickly to those who don't know?
Now, I would just say, you're walking into a room, as we said earlier in this podcast here. It's a product of everything. It's from the electronics, it's from the amplifier, it's from the room, it's from the cabling, it's from the video. When professional people and having the right product and understand what they're doing, then it all goes hand in hand. And so that's what I feel. Fully controlled. It's goosebumps. It's pans which are shaky. And that's what people can experience.
David, you're often the ringleader of the demo during the actual show, and kudos and compliments to you, by the way, because as always, when I come in at the last minute, last demo on the last day, and you're still going, and I'm sure you go home and just crash for a better part of a week and don't talk to anybody. At least I hope that is the case for you.
Yeah,
But
do you know the fun bit's the flight home, actually, because you got all industry guys are all on the same flight, and everyone wants to have a chat, and all I want to do is put my head in a box and just disappear for a number of hours before I get home. But yeah, Lars made a very interesting point. I do often sit through the all of the demonstrations and sort of run the automation and things in the background, and there's no specific reason why it's me. It just I tend to just put my hand up for that, and I understand all the control and automation stuff. I do that as well as contributing on the Trinnov side. But the only person that was feeling the fatigue at the end of it from an audio perspective was myself and Andy Jones at the time. Those of you who know Andy, we both sat through all of those demonstrations. So yeah, with earplugs, I would admit, you must do that for long periods of high level sound exposure, but also the visceral nature of the bass that we produce in that room, that got quite tiring after a number of hours as well. So it's a good time.
yeah, well, keep going. So with visceral bass, we've skipped over a little bit the contribution that Trinnov brings to the table, and I definitely want to make sure that we have that time here. So bring us a little bit disjointed. We're not necessarily going in the order of the installation or the role of each product or technology in the room, but bring it all together now for us from a processing perspective and from a Trinnov point of view, what the room is accomplishing and how that's happening.
Yeah, happy to. And we as Trinnov Audio, we very much sit very much in the middle. We have our wonderful processor that sits there and takes all the audio feeds in and spits out all the audio signals. And we clearly deal with the measurement and correction and calibration involved with a number of key technologies. But just to part back to Lars's one of his first points about signing the PO, we like to set challenges, and we also always want to go bigger and better as a group of manufacturers. We always want to go bigger and better than we've done previously. And when we asked Lars and the team for 14 of their biggest subwoofers, I think the open mouth expression was probably there for a few minutes before the order was placed. But Peter's also, mentioned it. We want to create these amazing experiences, and could we isolate the room more, as has been discussed? Yes, we could. Could we do this? Could we do that? Could we get lower bass extension? Yes, we could. But we'd need to start building things out of concrete. And that is why we go to the length of having 14 of these not insignificant size subwoofers with the amount of horsepower that they have, because we're starting to overcome the designed limitations that we're working towards with building this type of demonstration on a show floor. We need a lot of power because we lose a lot of energy. We need a lot of subwoofer because we want all 18 seats to have the same bass experience, and that's really the part where Trinnov come in probably most significantly over the last couple of years with our waveforming technology. Waveforming is a technology that's really designed to eliminate the modal response of the room, so take out all of those cancellations and peaks and troughs in the frequency response in the bass, which are largely limited by the amount of subwoofers, where you place them, and ultimately the construction of the room itself. And we have a very clever way of overcoming that with clever algorithms and electronics. But fundamentally, the aim of that technology is to employ what we're terming active acoustics. The mid-range and the high frequencies and the sort of lower mid-bass are comparatively reasonably easy to treat. I'm not saying it's an easy job to get it right, but technically speaking, it's a relatively easy thing to absorb that type of frequency. When you get to bass, everything changes, and it becomes a real challenge. And that's really why we employ such a large number of subwoofers, so that we can use our technology to give everybody in that room a very, very similar bass experience. And anyone who's been designing cinema rooms over the years, I'm new to this game, relatively speaking. I haven't spent as much time in the industry as some of my contemporaries, but every room that I go into has its own inherent problems, and the biggest one is usually bass, and it's the hardest one to solve. You either need more of something, whether that's absorbative heavy material, or space, to absorb these low frequencies, or you need more subwoofers, or you need to move them around. There's no sort of correction system in existence that can just take a limited number of bass capable speakers and just turn it into magic. That doesn't exist. It starts from the engineering. It starts from the design from the bottom up. And this is something that's really always very much overlooked, I feel. And this is something that the industry is changing. And Peter mentioned the very significant contribution that he personally has given, but also the industry have given to documents such as RP22 and what is going to be coming up to try and instill these sort of engineering values and return us back to getting away from product focuses and stripping away all the marketing material and starting to build these things properly from the ground up. And that's apart from everything else that Trinnov offers with the correction and time alignment and phase correction, all the the good stuff that really goes into ultimately giving that immersive experience. It's got to start from the ground, and I think that's what we're proving with these rooms, is that even on a show floor, in a compromised environment, if you design correctly and take it from the beginning, you can achieve wonderful things. So yeah, I think that comes as a cooperation from us all.
Yeah, one of the things we were talking about as we were building, as we were experiencing the room build and after calibration, was the actual noise floor of the show that needed to be overcome. What was the measured output of the show?
From inside the room, it was something like around the 85 decibel mark, something like that. So Lars mentioned that we're playing at 126 decibels. Yeah, it's loud, but when you have a noise floor of 80 odd decibels, you've got to reach quite high above that. So
the noise floor wasn't 80. The noise floor on the actual show floor was about 57.
Right,
and then inside the room it was low 30s.
Okay. So
Okay,
you
I've
know,
got some of that.
if you think about 57, it's kind of like a noisy office building that we're dealing with, and then still having to, like, 37 is relatively quiet, but it's still not a very quiet night that you would experience in your living room.
Yeah.
Where it's that quiet that you can actually hear the nuance. But the incredible thing is that when you walk into the room, the openness, like when you walk into a space and the acoustics change, and it's like, breath of fresh air. It's like coming into another space, escaping from the show, and then that's the platform. It's still not quiet, but it's just the environment that gives you this sense of, take a breath, just relax. Now I can experience that. But then the the sound that's built on that, the speaker positioning and the balancing, and having every tweeter perform the same, every mid bass driver perform the same, and give you that same acoustic signature as things are steering, moving up and down around the room, that gives you this really immersive, totally enveloping sound. It's the difference between, hearing popcorn and being totally submersed underwater, and really being, wrapped around this, and also providing that nuance, like the detail, and that exact location specific output that really just amazed me.
We always get to shows and think, oh, this doesn't sound as good as it did in the factory. Why is that? And the biggest reason for that is noise floor. Our factory floor, if we turn everything off, it's totally silent. That show floor is really, really loud. And one of the reasons we work so hard to calibrate before we get to the show is that during build up, you've got a lot of these huge big forklifts driving across show floors, which are sort of quite bouncy. You can feel the bounce when forklifts drive over it. So you've got a huge amount of very, very low frequency energy, and that completely screws up measurements when it comes to calibrating for low frequencies. So it's all probably the biggest upgrade we could make to that show floor room would be to turn every single last bit of noise off. And to David's point about the amount of subwoofer power we've got in that room, that room is flat. Well, it's actually a bass contour. It's positive, down to 9 hertz. So we can do 9 hertz very, very comfortably with a lot of output in that room. And some of our demo clips show, all the way down to 9 hertz. It's wonderful. It's one of the very, very, very few rooms on a show floor that you've ever experienced proper, genuine infrabass. And when I say infrabass, I mean the stuff that's going on below 20 hertz. And the reason you need so much, I'm going to go slightly out into the geekosphere here. The reason we need so much subwoofer power is at those low frequencies in rooms of that size, you get a lot of what's called room gain. So room gain depends on having a very, very rigid, sealed room. Now, the room is reasonably sealed, but it's really not particularly rigid because we can build it in 2.5 days. As David said, it would be lovely to have a poured concrete box, but that's completely impractical. So to compensate for the fact that we're not getting that much room gain in that room, we need that amount of subwoofer power. But if you hear the demo, you will be hearing very clean, no audible distortion bass all the way down to 9 hertz.
Ecosphere. I love it. But we didn't stay there long, which is really unusual, and I'm not exactly sure how that happened. But
no, I live there. So if you just give me a time scale, press go, and I'll begin.
I was going to say, don't open that door, Katie.
I know. I know I should know better, right? Okay, James, intentionally pulling you in here. We've pretty much made our way around the room from product technology and what goes into it. Let's talk a little bit about the cabling connectivity and the infrastructure from that perspective. Cords is part of this room, this demo, and for some very specific reasons, as you have explained in the past. But if you would now just take us on a cable infrastructure journey for this particular room, but then also how typical applications are also benefited.
So for this room, we supplied our 1 series integrator, 14 gauge and 12 gauge oxygen-free copper cabling. The design of it's very easy to run. It's as pure as we can make it, and it's flexible. Comes in a box, and you can use as much and as little as you can. The cable has been used several times now. We also launched a passive 48 gig HDMI certified, ultra high speed certified cable at CEDIA Expo, a 9-meter cable, and they use that to power the projector. And the benefits of a passive cable is there's no electronics at all to interfere with the image quality, the EDIT information. So it's just all natively passing through. And the significance of it is the length, because when ultra high speed cables were launched, they only went to 3 meters. And to be able to triple that distance, it allows for installation of bigger screens, more flexibility. Projections can be further away, or technology has changed in terms of the position of how we put things. So that just allows a lot more flexibility. It's fairly simple what we supply, but it's going to reliably connect. David will tell you about the many times that he's used HDMI cables before, where when you switch the device, well, 1, you don't know whether it's going to turn on again. 2, and sometimes you don't know how long it's going to take. And when you're switching audience in and out constantly, not only does it have to work pretty much 24/7, much longer than in a residential environment, it's got to switch quickly and give David the confidence to be able to do the demonstration so that he can focus on the demonstration itself and not actually deal with the haphazard technology, because we're trying to push the envelope.
You said the key word there, which is reliability. And it's and I make it no secret that I carry cords, HDMIs with me in my bag every time I go to site, because the big thing that I come across all of the time is people using the wrong length cable for the wrong application, and having dropouts of video or audio or both. And as the black box that sits in the middle, it often falls on our head. Oh, it must be that box. It must be something you're doing badly. Just, you've always got to take a step back and just go back to something that you trust. And, that's why I carry those cables around with me, to give me that opportunity to say, look, I know this works. Let me put it in. Let me test it. And then if it is something wrong after that, I hold my hands up. But I want to start here. Let's start at, point to point. Let's work that through. And then let's go a bit deeper after that, because 98% of the time, that's what it is. So that's where we start. But you missed an important one as well, James, because you guys also supplied all of the XLR cables for the subwoofers.
Yep.
And I have to say, what a pleasure it was to work with those. Such thin gauge cable, but so robust. We're not rushing, as Peter said, we're not rushing to build these rooms, but we're purposefully getting on with the job, and they never miss a beat. We try to treat them carefully, but you know what it's like when you're pulling cables here, there, and everywhere. No knots, no tangles.
We don't treat those cables carefully at all, David. Come on, we abuse them.
Yeah, we do.
We abuse them, especially on teardown when we're trying to take that room from a finished cinema to a blank show floor in a day, things are just getting yanked and shoved into boxes. So, I think it's a great testament to the Cords cables. And, another thing about the rooms we build, they're probably the most sustainable rooms on the show floor. I don't know how many of you have seen an exhibition show floor after the show, but the show floor is littered with the carnage of carcasses of booths that have just been torn down, and all of that stuff's going to go in the bin. With our rooms, everything's going to get reused. And that speaker cable that James was talking about, I think this is going to be the eighth show. We're using a passive speaker. The speakers are always roughly in the same place. We've allowed a bit of extra cable. We've used those cables again and again and again and again and again, and there's never any issues.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important point to just elevate and amplify here for a moment for the integration community who's listening to this episode or other episodes, is the importance of the cable infrastructure, the foundational aspects of every installation. There's here in the US, Eric Bodley at Future Ready Solutions, who's Chord's exclusive distributor, has a one-liner that I love. It's don't install a service call. And, if you know Eric, he comes from cable. He's been in the category forever, and he knows a thing or two. And he's also, because he's seen a thing or two. Have you heard that tagline from this insurance company? But the point is, when you take the time and pay attention to the infrastructure, to the foundational aspects of your projects, you're more likely to have a successful outcome and not be chasing ghosts throughout the course of the project or beyond after you've commissioned and left the project in the hands of the homeowner. Things go awry. If you're chasing a ghost and you don't go to look at the cable level, the infrastructure, the foundation, you're just going to keep chasing your tail and going in circles. And I think, David, that's what you were alluding to. But the fact that you guys are reusing these products over and over and 8+ times in a show environment, that's really significant. And what we've heard over the years from those integrators who are using Cords is once you realize that the cost is well worth the benefit, in that you're not ever having to deal with chasing a cable down and having to replace it, which often is at the very backbone of the installation. Not easy to get to swap that out. So little PSA from your pal Katie over here, but you've heard me talk and stress the importance of the foundational aspects of your projects, and obviously cables are part of that. So too is the design and the engineering that goes into the projects. And as you've heard here today, what goes into a demonstration like this is incredibly significant. But it not only is it the expertise and the experience of the team, but also the products that go into the projects and how well they work together, how do they perform together, and are they going to deliver that ultimate demo. This has definitely been a conversation focused on audio, but I will say that the video has been exceptional in this room in the past as well. So it's the whole experience in a box, and it really is a beautiful thing. One of the things that I've noticed, and you've heard me chat about this in other episodes as well, is just the beauty of a room like this. If you've never had the opportunity to experience it, if you're listening in on a consumer side, if you've never had the opportunity, reach out to a technology integrator in your area. If they have a showroom with a home theater, go in and just experience a room so that you understand really that the passion that goes into this industry, and really, the pinnacle that we're trying to achieve, because it's more than just a room. It's a place to go to escape. It's a place that takes you away. It sort of transcends and transforms. When done right, it's an amazing space. When it's not done right, it has this awkward silence to it that almost makes you feel uncomfortable with yourself. It's weird, and I'm making it a very simple translation. But Peter, you've alluded to this in your writing and in your teachings as well. As getting acoustic right makes it feel good. Getting it wrong makes it feel bad. That's my paraphrasing of what you've delivered. But if you would just kind of put a bookend on the conversation from your point of view of the performance of the room from an experiential standpoint, and then we'll start to wind down. We'll go around the room for you guys listening in. Stay with us, because we'll get you contact information and how to find, follow, engage with everybody, all the brands that are taking place in this demo, and we'll get you booth numbers and all that here too. So, Peter, if you would, and then guys, definitely chime in.
Just one quick comment on acoustics. People say, what acoustic treatment is in this room? And my answer is none. We don't use acoustic treatment. You treat something acoustically when it's sick. You treat something when it's sick and it's poorly and it's broken. Our rooms are not sick in the first place. The acoustics is built into the very fabric of the way we build the rooms. So you can't buy acoustic treatments from us. You can buy complete rooms where the acoustics are part of the totality of the way that room is built. So we've got a very, very different approach there, and it ends up being very predictable. But the final thing I want to quickly mention, and it's usually, and I think David will smile at this, it's usually the cause of the most tension of the entire build, and that is selecting demo content. It's critical to have the right demo content, and it's so difficult to put it together, because you've got to have a balance between clips that people know so that they can benchmark different rooms with the same content, versus not too much death, because unfortunately so many of the great demo clips, it's just death from beginning to end. Death. And I remember one show we ended up with 3 clips, and I think between the 3 clips 113 people died or something, and it was just no, stop, we've got to take the death out of this. So trying not to have too much death, and also having something in that's music related. And one of the tracks that we played at CEDIA Expo was, I'm not going to spoil it too much, but it's an amazing track by an electronic music artist called Max Cooper. And they're incredible visuals, and the Atmos mix is mind-blowing. Quick Geekosphere comment here. Every single sound on that mix is an active object. So there isn't a single sound that's tied to a specific speaker. Every single sound is dynamic and active around the room, and that's really stunning. And it's always days worth of discussions to sort of take all of the content that's out there, consolidate it down to 3, maybe 4 clips, so we can have a 15-minute demo, and then put those in the right order. Excuse me. So we're taking people on a journey throughout that demo.
Yeah, and one of the key things is that it's equally good for music as it is for death.
Yeah,
so to speak.
You've got to be able to do death and music. or maybe we should just play death metal, because that way we're combining.
Right, and then maybe you guys will come to an agreement on the demos just a little bit more on that. I'm certain that won't trigger any arguments whatsoever.
It's an ongoing conversation. It'll take
ongoing. Yeah. Well, I'll challenge you. How personally, just the Lady Gaga clip. I think we've seen that 4,283 times now. We're good on
Is that all?
Yeah. One fewer than Top Gun Maverick.
But I think we've spoken a lot about the components and everything that goes into it, and we do need to give a big shout out to Kaleidoscape. Who we do use show after show, not only for the brilliance of their product and the performance, but also the integration that it offers. Anyone who knows anything about doing these demos will know that none of the clips are ever the same volume or need to be played at the same volume. You need to change volume between clips. You need to often change the tuning between clips as well, to get that best, real wow, experience. And, we're starting to give away some of the industry secrets, but, that's ultimately what it takes. And, we haven't, it's unfortunate that you've got 4 audio guys on the call. I know Peter's obviously very passionate about video as well, but we don't have a chance to say thank you to our video partner Sony this year, who are providing the GTZ 380 projector for us, and then ultimately, the projection screen and all the other parts that go into it. We can go on, but just to try and give everybody their little bit of screen time is obviously very important as well. And I've actually become a bit of a video. I'm not going to say expert. I'm going to say I've started to appreciate video more and more. The more and more I've done these shows, I'm obviously very audio focused by nature of what I do and my preferred interest. But you can't have a good cinema demonstration without a very compelling video conversation as well. So there we go.
Yeah, absolutely. David, thank you for mentioning that. Are there any other partners that we need to discuss? And this
Seymour Screen Excellence.
Yeah, thank you, James.
Okay.
Mad VR.
Yep, and RTI for the automation.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. All right, gang. For those of you listening in who are attending ISE, Integrated Systems Europe, you can find this demo in Hall 1 in booth 1F, like Frank, 500. Again, that's 1F, 500 at ISE. Guys, let's go ahead and go around the room. And for those that want to find, follow, and engage with you and your brand, go ahead and give us your social handles, however best for each of you. And Peter, I'll let you kick off first.
The simple one is www.officinaacustica, all one word, .com. You need to say it with a bit of Italian, Officina Acustica, to get it right. And my email address is just as easy, peter@officinaacustica.com.
Cool. David?
Yeah, so for me, visit Trinov's website, www.trinov.com. We have a contact page on the website, so you can send us an email and we can arrange a phone call or anything after that. If you want to contact me, you can contact me at david.myrovitz@trinov.com, and I'll help you with the spelling of that when we get there.
And if you happen to be on the flight home from ISE with David, just wave, maybe a touch on the shoulder, and then let him sit in his hood with his
Ask him to talk about the demo.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, really go to the Geekosphere, please, if we could.
Let's do it. It's only a short flight from Barcelona, so happy to do it.
Love it. Lars, how about you?
Yeah, before jumping into, let's call it per listen, I just want to mention that, selecting demo material is actually a key factor, and you have to be careful. And I was in Asia, more specifically Japan, some 20 years ago, and I selected some of the material, and one of them was the movie Pearl Harbor. And after the first day, people started to look at me, and I said, oh. So sometimes you have to think twice about selecting the material. And I also just want to do a shout out. You mentioned where we can be found in Hall 1. There will also be, beside Team Per Listen, we will also show a handful of new subwoofers. So a selection of in-wall, on-wall subwoofers from the good, better, best scenario. So please make sure to look for that as well. And you can find Per Listen at perlistenaudio.com. And we have an info at perlistenaudio.com, which is our info email, which will be seen by me and Eric. Eric is the CTO of the company, who was supposed to be on this call.
We're docking his pay for not joining this call.
He's in the air back home from Asia to the US right now.
Oh, good. James?
And you can find us at chords.com. Our handle is #@CordsGlobal. We are on most social media platforms. So come find us there. And you can contact us through our website. So it's an unbelievable opportunity. I would urge you to contact Peter and David and try to get in early, as they're usually booked out.
Yes.
It's a very expensive exercise for these guys to put on. So if you're coming to ISE, take the opportunity and find out what excellence is all about.
And if I'm not mistaken, on the Trinov website, trinov.com, there is one of the images of cycling through as an overview of the booth. And I believe there is also a place to go ahead and book that demo ahead of time. So if you've learned anything here, this is a demo you don't want to miss. And you can go ahead and sign up for one early on trinov.com. So, guys, I really thank you so much for taking time out of your days to make this conversation happen. More importantly, good luck with the next few weeks in the lead up to the show. Good luck with the build up. I'm going to come and see how you're doing. There's a lot of exhibitors and build staff that are going to be very upset with this whole, 2.5 days, and we're off by 5:30, 6 o'clock every night. Yeah, that's very unusual. And for those of you who have never been to the show before that it actually opens, if you have an opportunity to get in, if you have a manufacturer or somebody, go, because it's unbelievable, the little city that just sprouts up within these giant convention center halls in a matter of days. And there's a whole lot more that goes into it. And like these guys are doing, they've already done all the hard work, and there's definitely a testament to that and a reason that they're doing it, which you've heard here today. So, guys, again, thank you for joining. I will see you in Barcelona, Spain for ISE. For those of you listening in, thank you for taking time out of your day to take a listen and to engage, learn more about the brands, learn more about the Ultimate Audio demo. If there is a topic you would like to discuss in a future episode, hit me up in the sphere and let's have that conversation. I'm here to tell your stories and to help educate and inspire those who have an interest in our industry. I'm Katie McGregor Bennett, your host of AV Trade Talk. We'll catch you on another episode. Until then, take good care. Bye-bye.